Okay, so now it's recording. Okay, welcome everyone. I hope you have a nice Easter break. The ones that had the opportunity to have that moment with friends, family, or whatever. Probably you have many things to do too. Um, I today I just want to recap a little bit of what we saw in the other session and move forward with entrepreneurship and innovation in sports course. So today we're gonna talk about two elements that are very important in the process of. Remember, when talking about entrepreneurship, we're gonna talk about the other day we talked about what does entrepreneurship means. How can we decide or define if it's something for us? Professionally or personally, different kind of skills we may need, different kind of professional careers or paths we can follow. Today we're gonna specifically talk about how to become an entrepreneur by owning our own businesses. We remember the course is going to be mainly focused on that, not only for people that might be necessarily create a company, but business entrepreneurship, let's say. So we'll talk about business opportunities, what they are, and how can we look for them, and then how to find ideas, business ideas, and what's the main difference between these two. That probably most of you are aware, but I think that understanding the differences will help us a lot on understanding the step by step and some of the common mistakes we take on the entrepreneurship process. Just to recap what we saw, that's the second session we've had so far. Sorry again. Here. On the first place, yes, on the first place, we have the introduction session today. We have gonna have the full session with me. Then next week we're gonna have well, in 2 weeks, sorry, we're gonna have Julien Pivovar that is gonna be coming to talk about his past experience as an entrepreneur and now as head of innovation in Real Madrid. Again, we're gonna have another session with me to talk about monetization, revenue streams, and business models. Pierre Jeanine is gonna come after to talk about again his career as an entrepreneur and previously working with a very innovative and entrepreneurial approach on MBA. And then the final session with me. In that session, we're going to cover specifically what has to do with the final project. But in the coming days, I'm going to, in the next session after the one with Julien, in this one, in the middle of the course, I'm going to share a few minutes on the session about the what to expect or what to do. I'm going to share with you on the third folder the guidelines of the project, the group project that you can do individually in groups of up to 4 people. But then that's just a few reminders of the previous session. And in case anybody has any doubts, again, please feel free to jump in and let me know. Of course, at the end of the session, as always, I'm going to leave space for questions. So if you want to interrupt, please feel free to go for it. You can raise your hand inside the team session. I'm going to stop and let you space for questions. If you don't interrupt me, I'm going to keep going until the end of the session, and then I will leave minutes there for any questions you may have. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna start with some of the rhetorical questions that you saw that I really like using. I would like to ask you if you're familiar with the startup concept. What does startup mean? It comes, I mean, there are many definitions, many ways to understand what a startup is. For me, there is a book that explains very well most of the concepts we're gonna see today, and we have been seeing in the previous session too, that has to do with the lean startup by Eric Rice. It's like well, of course it's a bestseller, but it's very used for entrepreneurs to create things because it shares a lot of insights, a lot of step by steps, and some of the methodologies and tools that we are going to see today. Some of them come from this book, so it's very practical. It's not theoretical at all. And in this case, I really like the definition of Eric Rice of what a startup is. A startup is a human institution designed to create a new product or service under conditions of extreme uncertainty. So human institution, it means people creating something new that normally we associate with the product slash service, we can say product or service. And one of the key elements to me, extreme uncertainty. We're facing a lot of things we don't know. And that's one of the key elements when starting any company, because uncertainty goes together with risk. And that's something we're very familiar in business. Risk, the odds of not facing the scenario that we are looking for. So uncertainty is one very important element for us to understand, to embrace, and feel comfortable when working with uncertainty, because that's not common compared to other companies. Of course, if we work in companies that are very innovative or in the technological atmosphere, environment or whatever, of course, we're going to have a lot of uncertainties. But when creating a new company, everything around us is uncertainty. So that's something we need to feel familiar with. And the main goal defined by Eric Rice, and that's something that I really share, is not, I mean, our main goal should be trying to reduce the amount of uncertainty that we have. And we're going to start with two main assumptions on the entrepreneurship process that has to do with, the first question will be, if there is a problem that needs a solution, that's the problem market fit, the first assumption we need to figure out, and the first area of uncertainty very important for us. And the second one will have to do, okay, now that we have a problem, if we find a good solution, a good idea for it, what will be the product market fit. It's the second area. So we're going to see that later in a minute, but I just wanted to introduce that in here. And another element extra on the definition is that it has a high growth potential. That's what differentiates normally a startup than compared to any other company. The high growth potential. Normally we measure that potential, of course, economically in terms of money or revenues we can generate, but also in terms of the amount of people that we might be impacting with our company or our product or service. That's the growth graphic in terms of cities per year of Uber, right? So Uber is a good definition. The other day we saw on a slide with a lot of different startups. What's very complicated to me when debating with colleagues in this area is what's a startup and when you stop being on a startup. That's something, it's fun because, for example, we used to say that Facebook or Meta nowadays is a startup, but you see, it's one of the biggest companies in the world. So it's actually a startup. It has to do more with the essence. When it was created, absolutely yes, because it was a human institution, new product, extreme uncertainty. Actually, Meta or Facebook back then, they created the concept of social media platform. Was one of the first few doing that, and the high growth potential. Nowadays, we can see that growth materialized a lot of years later. But we need to understand that the potential is something that has not occurred yet. So probably Uber is not a startup either. So I just wanted to have this idea in mind to introduce what has to do with uncertainty and the growth potential to see what's the definition of a startup. And another fun fact, probably not what we should expect from a course when we are thinking about what to do in our life in the future, is what's the percentage of a startup, these high growth potential companies, very technological, how many of them in percentage, how many of them fail, and how many of them fail during the first year. I don't know if you want I don't know if you can use the chat or not. If you want to participate, feel free. But it's probably I've done this question many times, and normally your guesses go very high. And sadly, that's true. 90% of startups fail. Fail meaning that they have to stop their activity before they become profitable. So they're not able to turn into a sustainable business at all. And 60% of them fail during the first year, which is absolutely insane. It's a big number. So again, it has to do a little bit of what we mentioned in the previous session. It has to do with the essence of being an entrepreneur, a business entrepreneur, creating a new company. It's very risky. It's very complicated. It's not that I will say it's not for anyone. Of course, that's not what I want to mean. It's just that getting to this 10% side, it's hard. And today, during the course, what we're going to see is not how to be on that 10%. I mean, if you follow these steps, you're going to be there, because there is no guarantee there. But it's risky, it's complicated, but we're going to figure out what are the main reasons why these startups fail, and try not to follow those steps, trying to avoid the common mistakes, try to copy paste the main good decisions some of these entrepreneurs have taken, the ones that become billionaires or become unicorns, taking into account that maybe that's not what we're looking for. And we need to also understand that those numbers that we see here are for startup companies, meaning very technological companies and high growth potential. If I want to build my agency, probably I'm not facing this 90% failure statistics. Or if I'm building my service companies, personal based freelancing business, probably those risks are lower. And I mean, probably no, it's not probably, it's 100% sure that it's going to be way higher, the success rate. Anyway, it's complicated, it's hard. I also wanted to bring you a quote similar to the other session. I'm gonna combine cases of technology and innovation, and also in sports, of course. But in this case, I wanted to share this quote from Red Hoffman: creating a company is like jumping off a cliff and building the plane along the way. I think that's very traumatic somehow, but it's somehow what we do here. It's like, okay, go for it, and you'll figure it out on the way. There's no easy way to succeed, to success. But in this case, Reid Hoffman did it. He built LinkedIn long time ago, like in 2002. The first version of LinkedIn was released. It was not successful at all. It was very awful. It was very different to what LinkedIn is today. But Reid and his team, they keep trying, they keep pushing forward again and again and again, and trying to figure out something that was valuable for their clients. And at the end of the day, they did not also build a very sustainable business, a high growth company, but at the end they end up selling the company on 26 billion to Microsoft, which is probably one of the biggest deals in recent history, what has to do with startups or technological companies. So why is that? Why are all these companies failing? What are the main reasons? What are the main things to avoid when being entrepreneurs in terms of not trying to fail? I like a lot this source, CB Insights. I don't know if you are familiar with it, but they publish a lot of information, very accurate, very up to date. This is a report they publish every year, and every year the results are very similar. I'm not so sure which year this slide from coming from, but take a look at those are the main reasons why startups fail. Those are based on questions they made to founders once they close their companies. They answer what are the main reasons. That's why it's not they don't add 100%. Those are because some companies had some of these problems. If you take a look at the first one, no market need, 42% of the cases. No market need, meaning that you build something that nobody wanted. You were building a solution for no problem at all. If you see here, user unfriendly product, that's another one on the top 10. Ignore customers. Three elements that to me are like very insightful. Like, how can we do that? How can we forget about what's the most important thing for us, which is our clients? If we remember the definition we made the other day of what's a company, it's a productivity unit that acquires inputs, transform that into outputs of higher value to satisfy customer needs in the form of goods and services. So at the end of the day, every company should be focusing on solving people's problems or companies' problems or institution problems. But at the end, we need to be facing needs. Of course, we also have run out of cash, not the right team, get out compete, pricing, cost issues, many others. We are going to cover most of them during the course. Of course, what has to do with cash. In the last session, we're going to talk a lot about numbers, how to manage our finances, how to manage our budget, etc. Not the right team, of course, many things we need to find the right people to go along the way. But to me, that's absolutely insane. 42% of the startup fail because they're building something nobody wants. I want to bring another quote, a couple stories of technology before we jump again to sports. This is Sir Richard Branson, founder of Virgin Galactic. This is a quote taken from an interview because he's a very successful entrepreneur, a very successful businessman. If you don't have a customer-centric approach, you can create something wonderful, but you're not going to survive. This quote was taken from an interview when the reporters were asking, how do you manage to be successful in so many businesses? That's the portfolio of companies that Mr. Branson has, or Sir Branson has invested over the years, are created from the ground. And if you see, many of them are in very competed companies. I mean, in competed industries. That he's not creating something very innovative from the ground. He's trying to solve problems in companies as telecommunications, traveling, airlines, banks, etc. So very traditional businesses, and the approach is being customer-centric, trying to solve the problems. If you think about somebody that has had a problem with an insurance company, or maybe with a telecommunications company, or has lost a flight from an airline, and they're not answering the phone calls or whatever. If you think about all these industries, you'll find that many of them or some of them are not probably providing the best customer service or the best relation with their clients. And that's the approach of Branson, trying to place the center, place the user, the client in the center, and build everything around that. Another fun fact is, I don't know if you can imagine what this picture is taken from. This is in Palo Alto in Silicon Valley, when many of these technological companies were built many years ago. In this case, this is where Hewlett and Packard were inside of it has been rebuilt and turned into a touristic place for people to go there and take pictures. But it was where they created the well, HP, probably the company, Hewlett and Packard. They were there. So we somehow have the idea of these entrepreneurs that are inside the garage. So you get into the garage, you figured out the best business idea ever, and you try to sold that to the world. And probably you've heard about those stories about companies like this. You can see here. So those are the pictures of the then, right, the garages of their parents, and now the headquarters of these companies. But what I wanted to point out here is the main thing is the mindset of business people, of entrepreneurs, has shifted, and it's very important to take this into account. Now we don't need to figure out the best crazy innovatively idea to put in the market and trying to figure out stay inside the garage for years building something and now trying to put it on the market. We need to go out, meet our clients, understand from them, and then instead of getting into the garage and find the best possible idea, now we need to do customer discovery. Customer discovery means understanding as much as possible from our market, from the things the problems we want to solve. Remember, the first reason why startup fails is because they build something nobody wants. Look at this. Imagine that you have invested all your savings, all your time, many years of your life inside a garage building something, and once you get to the market, nobody wants it because you're solving nobody's problem. That's absolutely crazy. So that's something we need to try to solve. So look for problems. That's the main tip today. Look for problems that need a solution, or maybe we can add on here that need a better solution. So focus on problems. That's the main thing for us. Focus on problems. Focus on opportunities. And also, we need to be able to face uncertainty. That's the second part of the first side of the session today. Look for problems. Look for problems. And these problems probably will be surrounded by uncertainty. Remember the definition of a startup? A lot of things we don't know yet. So our goal will be try to find what we call the problem market fit. Make sure that the problem you are trying to solve exists and is big enough for you to build a company. So we need to find the problem or the need and that there is a market on it. That's what we call the problem market fit. So we need to get out of the building. We need to go out on our market and make sure that there is an existing problem or existing solution. Maybe it's already solved. Maybe our clients or our future clients are already solving that problem. Maybe we need to find something that is better than the existing solution. That's a different approach. But the most important thing is we need to build businesses based on problems, not based on crazy ideas or very innovative ideas or very nice technologies. That's not the point. We need to find problems and then find the problem market fit. There is a methodology that's called, we mentioned lean startup. There's another one that I just want to share with you in case you want to go deeper, which is design thinking. I don't know if you've heard about it. Design thinking is very applied in entrepreneurship. It's also applied in other fields like design or problem solving, because design thinking is not only used for businesses. It's also used for any other kind of creative problem solving approach. There has a motto that says fail fast, fail cheap, meaning that we don't want to invest in producing something that nobody wants. Fail fast, fail cheap. It's not that it's telling you to fail. Is that if I would like to introduce the if first. If you have to fail, the sooner the better. The sooner the cheaper will be, right? So if we are planning to build something and nobody wants that something, the sooner we know, the sooner we're gonna stop building it and go to something else. So problem market fit. The first step is problem market fit. Make sure that the problem exists, that there is a market for whatever you want to build, and then if there's a problem, you might go for it. So the way to define it, this problem or need, will be business opportunity. Business opportunity. That's what we're looking for. Business opportunities. So the business opportunity is like a set of circumstances that creates the potential for a new company in a certain period of time. And that's the key element. It involves the identification of unmet needs, market gaps, or areas where innovation can lead to the development of successful, profitable venture. What does it mean? We need to find problems that need a solution based on certain circumstances that we need to evaluate, because the same business opportunity can be targeted with a lot of different ideas. If we talk about I don't know, mobility within a city, for example, that's an opportunity, right? Many people living inside the city, many people having to travel from one place to another. That's an opportunity, a set of circumstances. Now we have a lot of different elements or different ways to solve it. We have share cars, we have renting bicycles, we have renting skates, we have Uber, Cabify, many solutions, many ideas to solve the same problem, to face the same opportunity. So opportunities are scarce. That's very important in economics, finding something that's scarce, because ideas are endless. We can have as many ideas as we want. If we sit down to have ideas, business ideas, probably all of you have business ideas. All of you have people or friends telling you that I have the best idea ever. I came up with the $1 billion idea. Forget about that. Forget about that, because you can keep having ideas all day long. You need to find opportunities, because those are scarce, are very difficult to find and very difficult to approach. So if we wanted to build a step by step to connect the two methodologies or the two frames that I wanted to share with you today, opportunities and business ideas, let's think about this graphic as the business process creation or viability analysis. The first thing would be business opportunity identification. That's what we're going to see right now. If we have identified a business opportunity, then we have to evaluate if this is a good opportunity or not a good opportunity, not only for myself, but we're gonna try to analyze it objectively, right? So I'm gonna give you four elements of a business opportunity to define if it's interesting or not. If it's not interesting, that business opportunity, stop there. We have to go back and find and look for another opportunity. We need to look for another problem to be solved. That's the first step. If we don't find the problem market need, if that opportunity is not good enough, forget about it. Look for another one. Remember, we are not talking about ideas. We're talking about problems. We're talking about opportunities. That's very important. After finding the opportunity, in case we evaluate it and the evaluation is positive, now for the first time we can start thinking about business ideas, solutions to that problem. But remember, in this part here, we are still talking about problems, not ideas, not solutions. Okay. Once we have the opportunity, we can start thinking about ideas. Then we're going to analyze those ideas to see if they might solve or not. But we're going to talk later. The problem, the product market fit. It's the second step. The first one is problem market fit, and the second one is product market fit. If my product, my idea fit with what the market needs. Once we have this idea, in case it's feasible, if it's not, what should we do? Look for another idea. But if the idea we analyze, it's feasible, makes sense, it seems like people might need it, then we can think about the business plan. We can think about going for it. Okay, we're going to talk about in the last session about business plans. So today we're going to talk about business opportunities, then business ideas, and the next sessions we're going to be talking about the business plan in terms of what has to do with monetization and revenue streams, and then very important with finance, forecasting, revenues, expenses, etc. After building the business plan, we can have two outcomes. It can be positive or negative. That's very important. When we face a business planning process, we normally assume that we already have a business, and that's not the case. We found an opportunity, then an idea. In case the analysis of the opportunity and the idea were positive, now we need to build a plan, a very insightful plan, a very deep analyzed plan to make sure that it's feasible. But we need to assume that it might not be feasible. We may have invested 6 months of our life in something that makes no sense. And we have to be open to that. Because if we don't, we're all facing fail 100%, because we don't accept going back in the process. If the business project is not feasible, we have to go back and look for another idea. If we found an opportunity and the idea we build the business plan for makes no sense at all, we should not move forward. We should keep trying on the business plan. But if we don't make it work at all, we should find another idea. That's something very iterative. Lean Startup tells us that. Keep trying. If something doesn't work, don't go too far with that idea. Trying to look for another one. Keep trying, keep testing, keep finding insights from the market. Because if you build a plan that makes no sense and you keep going forward, then you're done. You're going to be on that 90% failure percentage absolutely sure. So now, once we have, yes, when we have the business plan, we figured out the opportunity, the idea, and then we have the plan, and the plan makes sense. Now it's time for us to go to market. It's time to go for it. Okay, but that's an iterative process, meaning that we need to go one step at a time. And if the insight of the conclusion of any of these processes is negative, we have to go backwards, not keep pushing forward no matter what. Because that's something connecting to what we said in the other session. We're gonna entrepreneurs. We're very passionate. We want to build something we believe in. Yes, that's true. But we need to also to be balanced. We cannot go too crazy. We need to fall in love with problems, not to fall in love with ideas. That's something I'm gonna mention later. So that's more or less the step by step, very simplified. So now what I want to share with you is how do we look for business opportunities, and that's probably what I like the most in my job, in my day to day, is finding opportunities. That's something that I do every single day. It's something that I keep trying to avoid doing. So it's not that I'm smarter than anyone. It's just that I have the habit of finding opportunities. I'm able to do that. So I'm going to share 3 elements we can do to build or to find these problems around us or opportunities around us. The first one, observing. You have to observe everything. You have to keep observing changes in the economical environment, scientific or technological, social, geographical, institutional, things that are happening around you. Take a look at what's not working. There are many things around that are not working. Problems that you have, problems that other people have. I prefer problems of other people because normally we fall in love with our own problems, but I prefer trying to find solutions to other people's problems or other institutions' problems, not only people, because of course we can have B2B or business to business approaches. We can try to think about problems of my existing company. One key element for us to find business opportunities is in our current job. If we're working in a company and we see things that are not properly working, maybe there's a business opportunity, or maybe if we have a supplier that is what they're supplying me, what they're providing is not good enough, maybe it's an insight for me to, okay, maybe I can build something better than this supplier. One thing that I say is when you find a problem, instead of trying to build your own solution, first try to find the best solution in the market. If you keep looking for and you never find a solution that's good enough, maybe that's a red light for you. I mean, a green light for you to say, go, try to build a solution because there's nothing in the market. So observing everything around, being always trying to look for these problems, being open to anything around us. The second one, and probably the most important one for me, not the most important one, it could be the most productive one. This is the source where I have created, where I have received more opportunities. It's mean relations with mentors, professional forums, informal networks in the industry, listening to podcasts, talking to people. Listening to podcasts and reading, okay, we're going to see that in a minute, but talking to people, getting out there, having a beer with someone, having coffee, having lunch, getting to what do you do? What do you do is the opening question for many business opportunities. I always say the same example. For me, the most comfortable place to talk about business is a wedding, not yours, of course. A wedding that you have been invited with other people. You're gonna have a beer and say, "Hey, my friend, I don't know you from anything because it's the first time we meet. We're in a wedding. I don't know where you're coming from. What did you do? I'm coming from the bright side. Oh, hey, what do you do? I have my own company. Oh, that's great. And what are the company about? And then you start talking about business. You're talking about asking someone, what do you do? Oh, it's insightful. They're going to tell you a lot. And if you show interest, they're going to keep telling you a lot of things. And sometimes these conversations, well, they come up with a lot of opportunities, things that they find. We love to complain. That's something very natural in people, complaining. So when you talk to somebody, it's very easy to find somebody complaining. And when somebody is complaining, it's because they have a problem. And if they have a problem, it means that maybe there's a solution there to be built, or a solution that is not good enough. So talking to people, relating to people, and observing around, trying to embrace what's out there. And yeah, you can have a beer. If you don't like alcohol, that's fine. You can have a coffee. You can have whatever you want, but get out of the office. No, there's no magic sitting down in front of a laptop. There is no magic just talking to a chatbot or AI bot. No magic. Well, some magic, in cases a lot of magic, but not this kind of magic. This kind of opportunities, this kind of scars. If you go where anybody can go, if you Google these opportunities, everybody can Google that. You have to find it, and most cases they had to do with the right person in the right time. So relating to people, and also is so much fun. So that's something I really love. And reading, of course, keep reading a lot of publications, reports, news, podcasts, LinkedIn posts. There are many contents out there. Now it's very complicated because many of these contents nowadays are AI generated and you will never know. But we have a lot of content on our hand. I'm going to mention a few elements of content that I really recommend you to read. Probably you already do because you're in the industry, most of you, both the ones that are studying or the ones that already studied with us. If you're in the MBA or in any other program, probably you're very familiar with this kind of reports, right? So the big companies, the big technological or consultancy companies, they normally publish their reports every year with trends, with ideas, and they are kind of doing the job for us. So take advantage of it. It's generating a lot of insights and a lot of opportunities are placed there. The only thing that I don't like about reading is that anybody can do that. Anybody can go to those reports. So the needs or the problems that are placed on those reports, everybody in your industry is aware of them. So it's good to generate knowledge. It's good to connect the dots. But I will say that in those readings, probably you will not find the epiphany for your business. It's not where like, okay, the craziest idea ever, the craziest problem nobody ever came across, or this opportunity that nobody's taking into account. Probably it's not written in those reports. But anyway, I think they're insightful and they're good. So to me, finding opportunities is a habit. It's like playing golf. I don't know if you're golf fans, but the first time you take one of these clubs is the worst thing ever. The worst thing ever. You will never hit the ball. You have to keep trying. It's a habit. You cannot become professional in the first time. There are other sports that the learning curve is closer, but in golf, if you keep trying, at some point you can play very well and you can play for many years. So it's a habit. You have to start doing it right now, and the sooner you start, the better. And at some point you'll realize that, okay, now I know how to do it. I know how it works. Of course, with golf, you never get to the level you want, even if you're professional. But with entrepreneurship, it's the same. Now that I have tons of opportunities coming to me from many different sources, now what's hard to me is finding the best opportunities. The same thing when you play golf or any other sport. When you have the habit, now you get to look for the best opportunities. So you get to choose where to look for, or with which people you want to relate, with kind of reports you want to read. So it's a habit. You need to stop. And when I say this as a habit, is that some of you may say, okay, everything you said sounds good, but I don't know how to do it. I don't get these opportunities. I don't see that. Keep trying. Keep trying. You can do it. You can do it. The only thing is observing, reading, relating, trying to look for those problems, look for these things that are not properly solved. And if you don't know how to start, go and take a look at any of these readings. You have many reports nowadays. It's insane the amount of content out there for us to read, for people to see what other things. Take the homework of others. That's fine. So a few instances in these reports, you're gonna find things. I'm just gonna skip some of these elements, but you can see like what they see the forces for change. For example, what are the things that are going to impact our industry the most? The pace of digital, evolving market, next generations, diversity, equity and inclusion, health and well-being. And in each of these elements, you can go deeper, you can dig deeper there, you can read more in detail to see what they're talking about. For example, in this case, this one is from Deloitte, right? You can see Deloitte in here. So accelerating women's sports, 65%. Which do you think present the greatest growth opportunities over the next 5 years? These reports are based for professionals of the industry. So they interview them, they survey them. So they take information from the 65% of them seeing that as a big opportunity, women's sports. Diversifying sport experiences, 52%. Developing data capabilities, probably this is growing and growing more and more. What do you expect will be the fastest growing revenue streams in the next 5 years? Money, very important for us if we want to be in business. Digital products, data, media rights. So trends, we see where the market is going. Share of fans who have visited the venue often. So another survey, this is from Capgemini, telling us that above 70 are going to the venue more often than Gen Z. Oh, that's a big opportunity. Maybe Gen Z need, or millennials, they need a different approach when it has to do with relating with the venues, with the sports, etc. Okay, so maybe we can find opportunities there. Again, in regular gameplay information on the smartphone while watching the game, 68% of people it's checking information of the players, the season, or whatever when watching a game. So 68% of people who's watching a game is doing something else on the phone. Okay, that might give me an insight for something. 360-degree video replays on smartphones. That's something people is engaging. Or experience previous games in 3D through apps. 55% of people. So it's telling me, it's not, again, as I said, it's not going to tell me exactly what to do, but it's telling me somehow what's happening out there. So other readings, I don't want to, for example, in this case, those are things that Capgemini is asking them if they might be willing to try or not. Like, I would like to try, interested to try, like to try, instead taking into account that they might be considering it, or interested to try, okay, I might be open, but it's not in my mind. So you have a lot of different elements like player information, live stats, etc. Wearable devices like handbands that act as tickets, whatever. Viewing the match as a player referee experience, interactive displays. So what they're doing in Capgemini, they're taking a lot of ideas and they ask people if they might be interested or not. That's not what I like the most in terms of validating ideas. But again, those are insights that maybe we can use on our pitch deck. Maybe we can use on our reports. Maybe we can use on our TFM, if that's the case for you. Maybe those are data that we can use for my storytelling in my business. It's not that I'm going to find the craziest opportunity ever, but I'm going to find insights that might give me, that might make my opportunity solid. This one I like. Which stakeholders type will have the biggest impact on shaping the sports industry over the next 5 years? Which will be the most important stakeholders? Take a look at investors being the one by far. Probably makes sense because we've seen a lot of different banks investing in sports, a lot of different investors, a lot of different funds being created from athletes, etc. Something we mentioned the other day. Tech giants, fans, athletes, commercial partners, technological providers, governing bodies, governments, international sports federations. Take a look at this, how far it is on the ranking. Betting operators, even though betting is generating a lot of money, it's a big industry, but it's not so relevant in terms of what's going to happen in the future. And take a look at these traditional broadcasters. They're a bit far on that line in terms of who's going to be more relevant in the future, what's going to happen in the next 5 years, right? Some other trends. This was from Capgemini. In this case, it's from PwC, PwC. The market growth of the sports industry. Gen AI use cases, 38%. This report is a bit old, in my opinion, because nowadays AI is everywhere, and probably you're familiar with it. So 38%, probably the report of this year probably will be about 60%. 60% expect investors to focus on premium sport assets. So another insight, commercial models. 83% of executives feel that new commercial models will be required to attract institutional investment. Okay, maybe institutions need more revenue streams. Maybe if I find ways to generate more revenues for those institutions, I might have a solution. Now I have a problem, more revenues required. I might find a solution. What can you do to generate more revenues? And you have the opportunity. Now it's for us to look for the solution. Other cases, again, women's sport, global fan data, again, data, women's sports are being mentioned again. Major events, 44% of participants believe financial concerns are the main barrier to hosting major sporting events. Financial concerns, okay, another type of problem. Maybe we can find about it, maybe we can dig deeper, maybe we can find something there. Co-hosting models, government, again, I don't have the chance to read them all because there are many insights out there, but I would recommend you to go for that. This kind of things, if you want to, because some of these reports may take 200 pages. So if you don't have the time, you can use an AI agent to read that for you and give you the insights. But if you don't, you have these graphics that they tell you like where to look, right? The threats and forces of the ranking PwC, they're ranking the main forces that are going to shape the future of the industry, transforming media landscape, very interesting, growth of women's sports, changing fan preferences, increasing importance of ESG, sustainability and social impact, that's great. Emergence of new competitions and tournaments. Oh, very interesting, new competitions and tournaments. Maybe if we think about it, the other day we mentioned a few of them. There's a lot of things happening on new entertainment models, what has to do with sports, not only traditional sports, traditional tournaments, but new tournaments. Okay. Growth of generative AI, again, probably this is way higher nowadays, not that much in our industry compared to others, but still in the top 10. IoT, Internet of Things, so connected devices like like facilities, equipment, etc. Things that are smart and they don't used to be smart. So like a door, normally you used to open and close the door. Now you can count the amount of people that goes to the door. You can have a lot of connections on those entrance gates or whatever. And key market threats: increase of cost of living, potential economic slowdown. That's not potential; it's already happening. Geopolitical instability. What to say? Tightening regulatory framework, and probably we can add a few more in that side. Growth, the expected growth of different revenue streams, etc., etc. So I just try to summarize some of the main challenges mentioned on these reports, like improving the fan experience, increase the share of small sports, embedding AI and digitalization in our industry, increase the profitability of companies in the sector. Not only companies, as we saw on the other class, on the other session, the profitability of even sport properties that used to be managed by fans and now they're turning into profitable institutions and companies. New content distribution models, what has to do with rights, is being fragmented the way rights are already being commercialized. Growth of esports and new formats, as we mentioned the other day. We have the Kings League, or we have many other new formats. The role of sports in society, what has to do with sustainability and mental health, a very big topic nowadays. Women's sports, personal branding, and NIL, what has to do with the athletes themselves by monetizing and generating revenues through agreements with brands and different sponsorship or campaigns they can run. Silver economy, what has to do with an elder population. We have in Spain, that's a very, very big opportunity. A lot of, the population pyramid has been inverted. So we have very few kids being born and a lot of people are growing old. The life expectancy, the lifespan is growing more and more. So it means that we have a bigger population of elder people. Yeah, probably that represents an opportunity. And on the other hand, we have younger audiences. They have different interests and different habits. So I just wanted to share a bunch of different opportunities, a bunch of things that I think they're happening out there. I don't have the time to go through them all. I just wanted to give you like the approach that I will follow if I were you, and I wanted to create something. That's what I do. Some of the things that I do, not every day, but I try to do every week, trying to be up to date, and that's how those opportunities come to us. So you need to find one of these, or one of the probably you can find in all the other sources. And I would recommend you to, when you find one of these, try to turn them into a question to help you focus on what you want to do. And the way to do it, to translate that opportunity into a challenge, to make it simpler, because it's going to help you. First of all, research. When you have a question, you keep asking that question in your mind and you keep trying to work on that area. Also, it's easier for you to tell others what you're trying to build because you know what you're doing. I'm trying to find a solution to this problem, so you can pitch that to others, and they might be willing to join you. They might be willing to invest in whatever you build. They might be adding you insights. That's very common. Not saying anyone what you're doing to avoid them from copying you. Forget about that. I mean, not always, but normally talk to people. If you know them, if you have some relation, why not? Maybe you don't need to say everything, but you can say, now I'm working in a project in what has to do with media rights, because I think there's a big opportunity out there. Oh, media rights, that's very interesting. I have a friend working somewhere. Okay, I want to know your friend. Or maybe, yes, I'm very into the fan experience in tennis. Wow, I have a very good connection with the Mutua Madrid Open. Maybe you can come and see. You never know. If you open, you have a question, you have the opportunity in your mind. Everything you have to find to build the environment for your project. You have to build your own environment. The environment is not coming from anywhere. So finding like a question in a how to, I would say, a place there, action verb, like improve, solve, avoid, delete, change, create, reduce, whatever. An action verb, how to create the problem, need, trend, resource, whatever on the that you have in your mind of. And here you have to mention who has this problem. Maybe it's a client, maybe it's a citizen, maybe it's a professional, maybe it's a segment, it's a user, it's a company. I want to reduce the time that people invest on buying their tickets. Okay, now you have the opportunity, value, business need, strategic goal. The how to, the of to. This structure, very simple, it's going to help you synthesize and focus. You have to focus on what you want to build. So it's a challenge. It's not easy to do, but you need to keep researching and trying to reframe your opportunity as a challenge, as a question. When you have that question, you can start trying to find the answer to that question. Okay. So yeah, I just placed a rugby picture there because I just want to remind that rugby is a very interesting sport in case you want today, because for us it's one of my challenges, how to make rugby bigger, how to make rugby in Spain grow. That's one of my challenges, personal challenges, that I try to keep working on it. I think that is a big opportunity because a racing sport represents a lot of opportunities for endorsement, sponsorship, ticketing, experiences, player transfers, representation, marketing for clubs and players themselves. So in my case, my sport is growing. Now we qualified for the business for the World Cup. I'm very happy, not only because I'm going to see a better rugby in my country, but because there are going to be way more opportunities for us entrepreneurs to build things, because there are new problems there, because now we have clubs that they need to sign professional players. That's new. That's something that was not happening in the past. So for us, it's an opportunity. How to solve it? I don't know. Now, later on, we're going to find the solution. But now, look for problems. That's the mindset. So when analyzing business opportunities, well, before talking to analyzing business opportunities, I just wanted to share this, which is probably, if you heard about this Maslow hierarchy pyramid of needs. To me, it's very insightful, because when talking about needs, it's not only things that people is dying from, I mean, because they don't have it. We have different levels of needs. We have physiological needs, safety needs, belongingness and love needs, esteem needs. So we need to find what's the kind of need, the kind of problem we're trying to solve. Maybe we're in different steps of this pyramid, but all of them are needs. Okay, so I think that not only food and water is a need, but maybe feeling part of a community. Maybe we can understand why people is paying a lot of money to participate in a VIP experience. Maybe because they can afford it and they want to show others they have the money to do that. Maybe because they want to network and they want to sell something, and maybe it's for a safety need because they need to sell their business or their idea. Maybe it's because they want to belong to a certain level of society, whatever. So the same product might be solving different problems. The same product or the same service might be solving different needs or different problems. So that's to me, it's very interesting to take into account. So again, great. The four dimensions to analyze a business opportunity. Once we are in front of a problem or a need, now we need to think, is that a good opportunity or not? If it is, there are four elements for us to evaluate. The first, the real relevance of the problem to be solved or need that we have detected. How big is the problem? How hard it is for my audience, for my target potential clients to solve it? Then, who are these future clients? Where they are? Why are they suffering of this problem? Then, how relevant the need is, and who are those clients and where they are? Then the market valuation, how big is the market? How many people have that problem? How big is in terms of customers, in terms of money, in terms of growth? What's the trend? What's happening? It's something brand new, something that has been there for many years. And the fourth one that has to do with the previous one, the market timing. Why now? Why now is the moment for you to do that? Why now is the right moment to try to build something? Why is this problem now? What I said, market timing, investing in rugby in Spain. Does it make sense? Today, it makes way more sense than 10 years ago. I don't mean from the sport development. I mean as an entrepreneur. Why? Because now it's bigger. We have more players. We have more opportunities. We have the window to show our sports in the world because we have a team qualified in the World Cup. We have a sevens team working in a very high level. So the market timing now it's completely different than 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, I created my club 10 years ago. So I saw the opportunity 10 years ago, but now I see that we have way more opportunities for other things. So market timing and the market valuation is very important. Understanding how big is the market, if it's growing, if it's decreasing, what has happened recently, and why now it's a good moment for you to go for it. And then, as I said, understanding the level of the needs we're trying to solve. And very important, together with the challenge for me, is synthesizing, being able to explain easily the problem we want to solve. We have to be able to explain it to kids. I have a 5-year-old kid. When I try to explain that something to him, it's when I realize if I know something or not. If I'm not able to explain it to my son and he's able to understand, it means to me that I'm not an expert enough on that field, right? In case, well, probably 5 is too young, maybe 10 years, 10 years old, I don't know. But 10 years, okay, but a kid, you have to, because when you start using weird words that only you understand, concepts very specific, whatever, you get confusing yourself and you get confusing others. So you have to be able to explain the problem very easily. And most importantly, you have to support the problem with evidences. Why is this real? Why should I believe what you're saying? Because I have a survey myself, because I read it from somewhere. I have the contact somewhere else. So you have to provide to yourself evidences. Don't lie to yourself, because at some point, if you need to have an investor, if you want to bring an employee, if you want to bring a co-founder, they will ask you those questions. So don't lie to yourself. Bring evidences that support the existence of that opportunity, because at some point somebody will ask you for it, and at the beginning you'll be asking for it yourself. So uh, evidences is a way to support what you're saying and build on something that's stable. That's something is not. Sorry, wait, something has fallen in here. 1 minute. Wait, 1 second. Okay, sorry. So try to support your statements with evidences. And as I said, understanding placing the client in the center. I like this quote. It's very old, but if I asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. That's why I told you at the beginning that the methodology of Capgemini, asking, would you do that? Would you be willing to buy this? I don't really like, because we don't know what we want. As you see, if Henry Ford asked people what they wanted, they would say faster horses. At the end of the day, a good entrepreneur has to look forward, has to observe differently, more creatively, to see, okay, what's the real need? What's the problem these people is having? They need to go to one place to another. They need to move faster. They need to carry things with them. Okay, understanding that you might be able to find a solution of a problem that maybe people does not even know. If you ask, getting to the previous example I said, why are you buying a VIP ticket or a VIP experience? Why? Because the game is better in terms, because you can watch the game better. Sometimes it's the case, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes you can find cheaper tickets to watch the game in a closer to the field. It has to do with something else. But if you ask them why they're doing what they do, maybe they don't know, or maybe they don't want to tell you. You need to figure it out yourself, and that's complicated. You need to figure it out yourself. Why are they doing what they're doing, to be able to understand the need you want to solve? And then uh, when talking about the market valuation, because now we're going to go step by step. The first one is the relevance of the need. We mentioned the hierarchy of needs of Maslow. Now talking about the market valuation, probably most of you have heard, or some of you heard about the TAM SAM SUM methodology. Total addressable market represents the total demand worldwide for the products or services similar to the one that you're thinking about building. The serviceable available market is the portion of the TAM that you're that matches what you're planning to offer. You don't know what you're offering yet. That's something we're going to do that later in the terms of the market research. But we need to think about the market size, at least with these two elements. And the sum, the serviceable obtainable market, it has to do with the forecast of sales you're planning to get in the next 3 to 5 years, or 2 to 3 years. So you have the big piece of the market, then you say your target. Let me bring an example. I told you the other day, 623 billion. That's what represents the whole sports industry. This number, 4.3 billion by 2023, that 2032, is the golf simulator industry. So my TAM, get into this, my TAM will be the 623 billion, the SAM will be the 4.4 million, and then the sum later on will be my forecast or what I'm planning to sell. In this case, I see that as an opportunity. That's the market size of golf simulator industry. Probably some of you are aware of this. This is the growth expected. And some fun fact here, Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy have invested in creating a virtual golf league, something that is a statement that is supporting the opportunity that I'm saying. Because probably if you are golf fans, and if I tell you that golf simulators represent an opportunity, some of you will say, I don't agree with that. So if I say something that sounds like an opinion, you may have yours, and if your opinion is different to mine, of course you will always trust yours, and it makes sense. But if I bring you data, if I bring you evidences, it's not open to debate. It's not for me. If you don't think this is an opportunity, you're not debating with me. You are debating with Tiger Woods or Rory McIlroy because they invested in this. So are you telling me that you know about golf more than these two guys? Okay, that's fine. So it's not for me to debate. If you don't agree, go and tell them because they invested a lot of money on this golf simulator industry. So it's not that I want to look smarter. It's just that I need to bring evidences, data, numbers, insights. In this case, it's not a number. It's just two names that everybody knows because even if you're not a golf fan, you know Tiger Woods. Probably Rory McIlroy too, but Tiger Woods, who doesn't? So if Tiger Woods is doing something in golf, you may say, it makes sense. What happened with the Roger Federer and the agreement with On Running we mentioned the other day? Who knows more about tennis than Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal and Carlitos Alcaraz and a few more? So who knows more than that? So if Federer is investing in something that has to do with tennis, you may say, okay, probably it makes sense because I know, but probably he knows more than I do. So it's not just numbers, but also other kinds of evidences. Okay. So market timing, understanding when's the right time to do something, very important. When is the right time to do something? Look at this quote. I think there's a market for about 5 computers. What do you think about that? Does it make any sense? How many computers do you have? How many computers are there in the session today? A few more than 5, right? It was said by Thomas Watson, the president of IBM, chairman of IBM, one of the most important technological companies in history. But it was said in 1943. In 1943, a computer looked like that. So thinking about more than 5 computers in the market makes no sense. People were saying that Watson was crazy, not because there were too little, because there were too many. People thought that there were too many. 5, they cannot find. Okay, NSA, different governments. Who else might have the opportunity and the investment to build something that big that is knowing that it's not doing that many things? A few years later, there is no reason for individuals to have a computer at home. What do you think about that? Again, it makes no sense. Who said that? It's stupid. It was said by Ken Olsen, DSC president, another very important technological company, back in 1977. A computer looked like that back then. It made no sense. Again, they were saying, who may be willing to have that at home? There's just a few things you can do. There were, okay, in companies, governments, etc. But where else? And a few years later, this guy, Bill Gates, said, I want to put a computer on every desk and in every home running Microsoft software. And now we stop counting how many laptops have been sold. In 1966, Best Buy created the first chain of electronics in the US. Now it's valued 16 billion. But nowadays, does it make any sense creating a new chain to sell computers? It has to do with the market timing. It has to do with what's happening around you, and you'll never know. 50 or 60 years ago, more than 5 computers make no sense. But today, we do not count computers that more anymore because now we have a different environment and we need to think about when is the right time to do anything. Again, another example on what has to do with the market timing. We have now, you know, that a lot of clubs and institutions are investing not only in football but in other sports in their venues, right? Yeah, multi-purpose venues, a very big opportunity to generate more revenues, to host events, concerts, more activities, more sports, etc. But where is the limit? Where is the limit? Because now it seems like it's a good market timing to create a new stadium. But at some point, there will be one stadium that's too much. One that has no space in the market. We'll never know when is the moment, but we know it's going to happen because probably concerts are not the best example for us in Real Madrid. But how many concerts can be in a big city as Real Madrid? We already have a place. Not only the other stadium. We have Within Center in Madrid. Now it's called Movistar Arena. It's one of the most important venues in Europe for hosting events, not only sporting events, but concerts and the others. So market timing, when is the right moment to do something and when it stops being a good opportunity, when the market window is closed. That's something we need to figure out, when the problem is no longer relevant. And again, to finish with this, I think we've heard about the love story, like in movies. Normally the love story tell us like how love should be, right, in movies. So in business we have something similar. The love story tell us that we fall in love with ideas, good ideas. We see the movies, we see successful people and they have the best idea. But to me, that's the wrong love story. We need to fall in love with opportunities. That's what we need to think about. Fall in love with opportunities, not ideas. Because falling in love with ideas probably will take you too far with something that makes no sense. Probably will take you too far to build something that nobody needs. So fall in love with opportunities. Fall in love with problems that need a solution. Fall in love with needs of people, and at some point you will end up figuring out the right solution. This example, I think it's very insightful on that matter. Bon Han, the CEO of Buzzer, he failed. He created a company and raised 45 million, failed on the company, and some very important athletes invested in the company, like Nick Kyrgios, Kevin Durant, Michael Jordan, probably names you know. And on the interview, when he said, "Okay, I'm not going to continue with the company," he said, "At someone who deeply wants my 3 months old to value the magic of watching a live game, I really hope we find a solution soon." So he's saying, I fell in love with the problem and I'm okay failing with this company. Of course, I'm not happy losing all this money. I'm not happy not being able to return the investment on my investors. Not at all. I'm not happy. I'm not celebrating. I'm just saying that I fell in love with the opportunity, not with the idea. The idea failed, but the opportunity remains. So I'm gonna find another way. I'll be rooting hard for the next company or entrepreneur who takes the problem ahead. So he says, okay, I think that the opportunity is there. The problem needs a solution. I don't know what the solution is. I tried to build something and I failed. But I in this case, probably it was not that fast because 44 million is a lot of money. But he said, I fell in love with the problem. Now I'm happy knowing that the problem is there. I'm of course, I'm not happy because I built the wrong solution, but I was good on the problem market fit. I found a problem that exists. So now we're going to talk about solutions for the first time so far in the course, talking about business ideas. Now we've covered business opportunities, problems, and needs, and how to target them, how to evaluate them, and most importantly, how to find them or look for them. Now, once we have the problem, we have the opportunity, we think about business ideas. An idea, a business idea, is the thought, impression, or visualization of the business to be developed by the entrepreneur. It must be based on a business opportunity, of course, 100%. Never forget about it. It has to be based on a need, on a problem. Otherwise, we're facing this 50% failure reason that has building something that nobody wants. Some of the attributes that a business idea may have: being associated to the notion of a product or a service, mean something to be sold in the market. So an idea, business idea, has to be something we are going to sell in the market that people might be willing to pay for it. So there has to be existing customers. Of course, if we're building something based on a business opportunity, when evaluating the business opportunity, we already said we need to find those potential customers. They have to be able to generate income because it's a business idea. If it's just an idea, it's fine. But as long as it's a business idea, it's something we're going to sell in the market to someone and they're willing to pay for it. That's very important. Generate income. People has to be willing to pay for it. Build something that solves a problem and people might be willing to pay for it. Get excited and represent something we can commit towards. Okay, this one we can debate if you don't agree, because as I said the other day, passion to me is very important in entrepreneurship, but not necessarily to define what's a business idea or not. Okay, that's coming from the books. Be ethical and legal. Again, I will challenge this one. Okay, not now because we don't have that much time, but think about it. My business idea, the business I want to build, has to be ethical? Yes or no? Why? Has to be legal, completely legal. What's legal or what's illegal? Is Uber legal? Is Airbnb legal everywhere? Is marijuana legal in every country? It's not, should be legal. Is ethical? So it's a debate that you have to have internally yourself, because as entrepreneurs, you will decide. You will decide what you want to do, and your company doesn't have a soul. So you will have to decide the business or the company you want to build, if it has to follow ethical procedures, ethical standards, or legal standards. It's your call. It's your call. So the theory tells us that it has to be legal, ethical, something we get excited, but at least the first three attributes, 100%. Product or service, existing customers, and generate income. The other two is your call. So Value proposition. When thinking about the idea, two elements we need to bring to earth. Value proposition. What's the value you are creating? Why will anybody might be willing to buy your products or services? It has to do with the competitive advantage. What are you doing better than others? That's something we're going to talk about business models in the next session. We're going to go in depth with this, so I'm going to skip in here. What's the value you are creating? Why your product or service is valuable? Why? Think about why would anybody might be willing to buy it, and why will it be why will anybody will be willing to buy this instead of anything existing in the market? So competitive advantage. What do you do better than others? So now that we have the problem market fit previously, because we did analyze in business opportunities, now we need to look for the product market fit. Remember, when facing uncertainty, at the end of the session, I talked to you about what's a startup, human institution designed to create something under extreme uncertainty. So the first area of uncertainty had to do with the problem. Now that we are totally now that we know that the problem exists and there's an opportunity, now we need to make sure that there's product market fit, that we're building a solution that fits what the market needs. Very important. We need to build something that solves a problem, but people might be willing to pay for it. So that's the combination of these two, what we call the product market fit. And look for the $1 billion idea. That's the next step. What's the best idea? No, forget about it. That's done. The business, the $1 billion idea, sitting down in front of a blank page, thinking about, okay, now I'm gonna figure out the $1 billion idea. Get out of the building, get to know your clients, get to know the market, and find there the potential solution. I'm gonna give you some insights on how to find ideas to solve a problem, how to do it. Not struggle to find the $1 billion idea. That's something that comes later. If you take a look at what Meta is today, it has nothing to do with the first version of what Mark Zuckerberg wanted to build back then. Or if you take a look at any of these competitions that we see today as a very profitable, like NFL, if you take a look at the story like back then when it was created, it has nothing to do, and it's very profitable. And it's not because they had the best idea back then, it's because they have been consistently doing this. They have been consistently building, learning, iterating, failing, rebuilding, getting back to the floor, getting back on your feet, but not because it was the smartest idea ever. So how can we find good ideas? Downgrade or upgrade products, or bundle and bundle things that are being sold together. For example, selling, that's an example of a hotel room inside a stadium, and this is like bundling something. I'm selling you the tickets, I'm selling you the accommodation all together. I'm bundling, or I'm upgrading the VIP experience. Another thing is downgrading products. I'm gonna give you tickets very far, very high. You only have the place to sit down, but you don't have the opportunity to do anything else. Or maybe some experiences when you get to see the players, but you don't get to access the stadium. Or maybe so you upgrade, downgrade, bundle, or unbundle things that are normally sold together. You separate them, or things that normally are sold separately. You try to sell them together. So different ways to find ideas. Normally, many ideas are based on existing ideas, so it's not something you need to figure out from the ground. The exercise that I would recommend you as market research is, if you have the business opportunity, before you think about any idea, try to find an existing solution to that problem before building. First, Google it, ask AI or whatever, your best friends, what would you do if you have this problem? And then later on, maybe if you don't find a solution good enough, you can build your own. Copycat, copying some things that are working in other countries. Geographical, what we call geographical innovation. Nowadays, it's a bit more complicated because we're a very connected society, so it's very easy to find things that are working in other countries and trying to copy them. Normally, we see things coming from the US to Europe, or from Europe to Asia, or Asia to Europe. So there are many different connections. So Latin American with Spain, there are many different bridges. But copycat, copying something and adapting it to the market. It doesn't have to be necessarily internationally. It could be locally in your own country. Arbitrage, buy low and sell cheap. Sell it's no, so cheap, sell something cheaper. That's very common. Being able to find something and sell that later. It's obvious, but it's an easy way to find business models. Price, sell cheaper, try to decrease the prices of an existing product, or for the same price, offering more. So price is a strategy to find ideas. Normally, in all of these elements, I would try to challenge you to find the 10x, the 10 times better, 10 times cheaper, 10 times easier, 10 times more exciting. So it has to be way better than anything existing, but pricing, trying to be able to sell things cheaper or offer more value for the same price. And intermediation, that's probably one of the areas where most ideas have occurred in the last few years. Do the work nobody wants to do. For example, Ticketmaster. What Ticketmaster do is not only providing the platform, so it's having the IT team developing the software and taking care of the maintenance of it, adapting to anything that's happening. So you don't want to have your own IT team creating your ticketing platform. So instead of doing that, you go out there and you pick a standalone solution and you plug and play in your company. You don't want to do that yourself. Or maybe you don't want to sell the extra tickets that you don't have the opportunity to. So Ticketmaster is not only providing you the software, but those 10 to 20% extra tickets that you're not able to sell directly, maybe they can bring you clients from their platform, target tourists or packages or anything. So that's another thing you don't want to do. So intermediation, and of course, in the middle, you can get a commission, you can get a fee or whatever. We're going to talk about all these ways to monetize later on. Okay, so again, those are a few insights to open your mind and to help you figure out how to find ideas. Other examples, other things to avoid. Avoid the situation, solutions in search of a problem. That's the most common mistake I want you to avoid. AI is cool. What could I apply to? That's what I see every day today. I have an idea. I have AI and I don't know what to do with it. I'm going to try to build something and see if it makes sense or not. So don't fall in love with the idea. Fall in love with the problem. The idea comes later. Sexy ideas versus boring ideas. What would you prefer? Normally, you would say sexy ideas, right? I want to be working surrounded in VIPs, or maybe I want to be with cool people. Maybe I want to have an environment that looks good. I having a storytelling that I can tell to my friends how cool my company is. But the space there is very small. Boring businesses are huge businesses. Everything around us are boring businesses. People that clean wherever you see it. People that transport things from one place to another. People that takes care of what nobody wants to do. What's more important? What's interesting in boring ideas that are less attractive for other people? So in boring industries or in boring fields, you're going to be no, I would say alone, but you won't be that competed. So boring ideas, very good. I think it's nice to have boring ideas as long as they are based on an opportunity that's big enough. There are rich people that has built their empires on very boring industries that you don't care about, but now it's like, okay, there's a lot of opportunity there. The wrong bad ideas, what not to discard, hard to get started. Sometimes we said, okay, nowadays it's easier than ever in history to start a company or to create a business from the ground. We have AI, we have software, we have internet, we have all the gig economy. We can hire people from all over the world from very, very little money. It's the lowest entry barriers. But if you're starting a business that's not hard at all to start, what it means is that anybody can do that too. So if you find something that's very cool in terms of business, if you're going to make money, and you don't have any entry barriers, what's going to happen? Other people will come after you and they're going to try to steal the business from you. So if it's hard to get started, fine, that's good. That's what we're looking for. It should be hard. It's always going to be hard. It is very easy. That's why I hate these people in YouTube, TikTok, Instagram saying, you are going to become rich by doing my course and a few steps. No, no, no. If you do that, you're going to be rich. I would say run away from that. It's my opinion. You will always learn. I don't want to criticize anybody specifically, but I would say, in my opinion, I've never known face-to-face people that made money easily. Of course, once you're there, you find a way to make money. And if it's easy for you, that's different. It's not like click and play. It's not plug and play. It's not click and collect. It's not, okay, get here and you'll be rich. Not at all. Boring, again, boring businesses, I think, are cool, are great, are less attractive for other people, so more for you. And existing competitors, that's very common. I don't want to do that because I found somebody that is doing that and it's very cool. What's the problem? If the market is big enough, if the problem represents if the opportunity is big enough, What's the thing? Having competitors, sometimes not having competitors is a bad sign. It means that two reasons. If you don't have any competitor, if you don't have any company building what you want to build, it can be only for two reasons. One, because you're a genius, or two, because you didn't research properly. Normally, you're in the second scenario. Normally, okay, you might be geniuses. I hope you do. But if you want to pitch that to an investor and you say there are no competitors, they will say, okay, it means that you're a genius. And the probability, the odds for you to be a genius is very low, so I won't invest in that. So having competitors is not bad. It's not bad by itself. Of course, if you have too many of them, if the market is very old, it's not growing, and those competitors are very competitive, and they probably it's not interesting for you. But having competitors is not necessarily a bad sign, not at all. Sometimes it's a good sign. Maybe you want to have not competitors, but signals or references, companies that are doing that in another country or companies that are doing that in another city. I've heard that I don't want to do that because I'm going to be based in Madrid and there's another company doing that in Madrid. How many people is living in Madrid? If the market is big enough, what's the problem of having just one company doing it? There might be market for how many companies? For 200 companies, 500, 2000. So having one, what's the problem? Having two, having 10. Normally, it's very complicated to find an idea that has no competitors at all. So again, go for it. So, other tips, other methodologies that I would recommend you before we end. Things those are going to be like questions for you to make to yourself when you have the idea. First of all, you have the opportunity, and you say, okay, I have the problem market need fit, pardon, problem market fit. Now I want to build. I have this idea. Is that a good idea? You can use the different frames. Is sexy? Is boring? Etc. Etc. So, do you have a co-founder, or are you a solopreneur? Do you want to be alone? Do you have all the expertise needed to build something? Maybe when you have the idea, before doing anything else, you need to think about finding a co-founder. That's why I ask you to do the group project. I don't expect everybody to be in groups of 4 people. I won't recommend you to be entrepreneurs with 4 co-founders. Normally, I would say 2, 3 people. 3 people to me is like personal opinion. It's a good number because you can balance. You can if you don't agree in anything, you have 3 parties. So 2 of them might agree, etc. Two might be the 50-50 problem. Don't go that far. I mean, I would say 21-49, something like that, to help the company move forward. But having co-founders, having people going the way with you, I think it's fine. If you have too many, it's going to be complicated to deal with it. But having co-founders, think about it. It's something that you need. You want to do that alone. Can you do it alone? Would you be willing to be working on this for years? Very interesting thing. Do you see yourself the next 10 years doing this? If you don't, Hmm. Let let's see, because that's what you're at the end of the day you're forcing yourself to do that, and that's hard to me because I love the initial processes of creating a company. I don't like them that much when it's stable and every day is the same. That's something I figured out after failing in a couple deals. Like, okay, what's happening here? I was good on building, but not that good on managing because I didn't want to be there for 10 years. So that's something you need to figure out. Maybe it's not killing the idea right away, but something that I will consider. Is the market big enough? How clever is the market? I mean, it's something that is very common. Did you find it in the report, or is something that came from a very good contact that nobody is aware? It's something very scarce, something very new, something very innovative. The problem again, not the idea. So the market, how good is the market? Is there any strong competition already, and how you can tackle it? Again, having competitors is not necessarily a sign to say goodbye, but it's a sign. Okay, so we need to read that sign and say, okay, there's competitors, but what are you going to do better? And again, popping in entrepreneurship is it's something you should do. So if there's competitors, go out there and try to make better than them. So what's happening out there in the market? Are there good proxies of the business? Are other successful companies doing what you do somewhere else? Can you follow what they're doing? Can you adapt what they're doing? Are you the first in the world? Again, are you the smartest person in the world on that field? I don't know. It's a bit risky. Take a look at this as investors because you're going to be investing your savings, your money, your time. So, are the good proxies? Look for proxies. Look for at least 10 companies, 5 to 10 companies that do, if not exactly what you're planning to build, something similar enough to say that they are proxies. Proxies that they're very close to what you want to build. Did this only recently become possible or necessary? That's a brand new opportunity. Or can you make this idea grow? Can you make it big? Can it turn? And it has to do with the first question: what kind of entrepreneur you want to be? You want to build something um, to be self-employed? Do you want to build a company to go IPO? Do you want to be very innovative? You want to sell the company in a few years? What are you planning to do? Is this idea fitting your growth expectations? I'm not saying that all of us or all of you will need to think about creating a startup. Not necessarily, not at all. I don't even think about this as the most exciting way to be entrepreneurs. I don't want to be that there myself. I don't have a startup. I have a normal company, service-based company. Of course, I invest in technology. I have technology in the process, but I don't want to build the next Facebook. That's fine. But I want to build something that's big enough to make money, to change the world, to generate employment for my country, for my people. So something like that. So how big is the idea in terms of what you want to build? So there are a few other things that I want to cover in terms of ideas, but I'm going to start the next session with them. Okay, something that has to do with creativity or how to evaluate ideas. I'm going to provide a few more frameworks, but I'm going to start the next session with that because I want to leave a few minutes for your questions. Okay. So that will be everything for the day. You have here the email for the course. Whatever you need, please email us there. We're going to try to answer as soon as possible. That's my LinkedIn profile in case you want to stay in touch. And that's everything for today. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to get back to the team session to see if you raise your hands. I think we have one hand there. So please feel free to raise your hand. I'm going to stop the recording and yeah, we're going to go for the questions. Thank you very much. Okay,